Hello again, Gary Stearman with another Prophecy in the News daily update. It's Friday, July 2nd, and the days continue to fly by as the threat of war builds up in the Mideast. You know, historically speaking, one of the things that will precipitate a war faster than anything else is the perception that your enemy is in a weakened state. And I've got a couple of articles here, one from Debka File and one from the Los Angeles Times, that talk about Israel being in a weakened state. Now, you don't hear much about this, but we have Israel being politically weakened on the one hand and financially weakened on the other. The Debka File article from yesterday, July 1st, says this, quote, "The Turkish flotilla effect continues to plague Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, leading him into one misstep after another, with the result that he arrives in Washington on July 6th for talks with President Barack Obama with a divided government." Now, next Tuesday, again, they're going to try, so far, every time Netanyahu has come to the United States for peace talks, everything has fallen apart, and he's been basically badly treated. Debka File's Jerusalem sources report that Thursday, July 1st, finds Netanyahu scrambling to stabilize his cabinet lineup and recover from the fallout of his disastrous decision to let the infrastructure minister Benjamin Ben Eliezer meet Turkish Foreign Minister Ahmed Davutoglu for supposedly secret talks in Brussels to try to narrow the widening rift between Ankara and Jerusalem. In other words, following the flotilla problem, you remember when the Turks floated a boat into Gaza upon which were later found weapons being smuggled in. The subsequent effect of that was that world opinion turned against Israel. So the Netanyahu government sent Benjamin Ben Eliezer to have talks with the Turkish foreign minister to see if things could be ironed out. But rather than that happening, the situation has grown worse. Debka File says it was leaked that same day, causing a huge uproar in Jerusalem, both because the initiative, which failed, was seen to be a crass error that at a time that the Turkish Prime Minister Recep Erdogan, his anti-Israel campaign was in full flight, and because the Prime Minister neglected to update Foreign Minister Avigdor Lieberman of the event. In other words, there's been a breakdown in communications at the foreign ministry level in the Israeli government as they try to smooth over their international relations with the hostile government of Turkey. This on the eve of Netanyahu's visit to Washington for peace talks. Again, the primary effect of all this is the weakening of Israel's position. Netanyahu comes to Washington more or less hat in hand in a diplomatically weakened position. Now, I also mentioned economics, and this from the LA Times is a rather surprising article that, when you factor it into the Israeli equation, gives you a new insight about what's going on there. When people talk these days about Israel's economy, they use words like booming, resilient, even miracle. Weaning itself off socialist influence policies that once brought 400% inflation and 60% income tax brackets, Israel's economy is now growing despite the international financial slowdown. Debt is manageable, the currency is strong, Israel's high-tech sector is admired worldwide. So you ask yourself, what could be wrong? But, and here's the but in the article, but one Israeli economist is warning that beneath Israel's backpatting lurks a hidden peril fueled by demographic trends and political choices that could eventually mean an end to the country. Armed with a PowerPoint presentation that he's been showing to lawmakers, newspaper publishers, and anyone else who will listen, a gentleman by the name of Dan Ben-David, Executive Director of Jerusalem-based Taub Center for Social Policy Studies in Israel, says the problem is simple. Now get this, not enough Israelis pulling their own weight. According to Ben-David, nearly 1 in 5 Israeli men between 35 and 54 a group that he believes has no excuse for not working, are not part of the labor force. That's about 60% higher than the average among nations in the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, an international forum fostering market-based economies that Israel joined with. That was last Monday. Now, officially, Israel's unemployment rate's about 8%. But that does not include Israeli citizens who are not working or trying to find work, either because they feel disenfranchised, such as Arab Israelis, or because they've chosen a life of state-subsidized religious studies, such as many ultra-Orthodox Jews. Nearly 7% of Arab men and 65% of ultra-Orthodox Jews don't work, according to government figures in Israel. The non-employment rate for ultra-Orthodox men has tripled since 1970, said Mr. Ben David. Quote, "We support a lifestyle of non-working that is pretty much unparalleled in the Western world," he said. Now, he teaches at a university there in Tel Aviv, and he says, on the one hand, we have this state-of-the-art part to our economy, but then he says there's the rest of the economy in Israel, which is a huge drag. And what worries Mr. Ben David is that the non-productive part of Israel's population, which survives largely on welfare, is also the fastest growing segment of the population. I could go on with this article, but you get the general idea. The Israeli economy is perceived as being on the edge of bankruptcy. At the same time, on the international diplomatic stage, Israel is in crisis mode. Gaza is still firing rockets daily into southern Israel. Hezbollah is still poised for battle on the northern border of Israel. And the United States is not at all sympathetic to Israel preserving its single state status. Obama has met with the Saudis, and they're trying to pressure Israel into the, quote, two-state solution, which of course mean a Palestinian state with its capital in East Jerusalem, a divided state, which the Israelis say we just can't tolerate, we can't allow it to happen. So there you have it. Again, tumult, chaos, indecision, great drama, economically and politically in the state of Israel. If one were to think about these things with the natural progression of human thought, you can't see Israel lasting very much longer. But if you read the Bible, it says that Israel is going to grow and become an increasingly powerful country in the Middle East, all the way to the point when the Lord Jesus arrives and establishes the kingdom with his capital in Jerusalem, right there on the Temple Mount. And there are many in Israel who are looking for that day. There are many Christians watching the development of prophetic events, as are we at Prophecy in the News. And believe me, we'll keep watching and bringing you these daily updates. Gary Stearman, have a happy day, have a blessed day in the Lord, and don't forget to keep looking up.